Hello, welcome to the DraftKings Daily Trot. I am Big Italy 42. He is Josh Shepardson at BChad50. Talking about Kershaw Day, as it is, and Clayton Kershaw, monstrous, minus 270 favorite, 5.5 total, it looks like now. $13,100 should be the first $13,100 you spend in your cash games tonight because, matchups aren't going to get much better than this. Him facing the Mets tonight in LA even. So this is a phenomenal spot for Kershaw. And I think he's an absolute must in cash, as he usually is. And then a couple other guys we were talking about for your tournaments. Ubaldo Jimenez gets the really struggling White Sox team at $7,500. You don't like that's in the sell, but he's done a good job of keeping the ball in the ballpark. .72 home runs per 9 so far this season. And then I know a couple other guys that you're looking at here. I know one of them is Michael Wacha against San Diego. San Diego's just been terrible, and he's a good secondary cash option if you can afford him with Kershaw. So why don't you run out these other guys that you're looking at too?
Yeah, I just want to quickly touch on Wacha and point out that while I was down on him earlier in the year, he was very lucky. His ERA just did not line up with his xFIP and FIP. The gap's closed a lot. The secondary number or the underlying numbers are looking good for him. As you said, the Padres have been terrible against righties, so I do like him. I think there's some merit to trotting him out with, say, Chris Archer and GPPs, since Kershaw is going to be so high owned. Maybe grab a couple other high arms, stick them in there together, and you're looking at a similar salary to Kershaw on like a bottom end SP2. In cash games, my favorite SP2 is Jesse Chavez at $7,000. Makes for a wonderful pairing with Kershaw. He's a betting favorite against a Mariners offense that's really bad. Strikes out quite a bit, and Chavez has been really good as a starter. Backed by O.co, so he's in a pitcher-friendly ballpark, so I like him. I like Syndergaard as a GPP swerve. You're not going to swerve by using hitters, as you said before the podcast against Shaw. The way to do it is going to be with Syndergaard. I do think he has a nice ceiling. He's been great striking out batters, limiting walks. Dodgers are a tough offense, but the low ownership could pay off if he delivers a quality start, say 7 innings, only a couple runs, and a strikeout an inning. It's going to pay for itself at 8,700 even without the win. And my volatile special at SP is going to be Trevor Bauer. Walk rate obviously creates some concerns from start to start, but when he's on, he's striking out about a batter per inning. You're talking about a guy that has a pretty high ceiling against a middle-of-the-pack Pirates team, gets to pitch in a National League ballpark, so he's facing the pitcher as opposed to a designated hitter tonight. And PNC Park, pitcher-friendly ballpark, so I like Bauer a little bit tonight. GPP only, obviously, because he is erratic, but I do like Bauer as an SP2.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think he's in a great spot for tournaments tonight, especially. Those are really the only guys I'm looking at as well. There's a lot of guys you want to pick on tonight. A lot of high team totals, a lot of high overall totals. So those are the only guys I'm considering. We move to catcher here. I know you and I both really like Sal Perez against a lefty. $3,800. Kind of pricey, though, on tonight's slate. So going to be tougher to fit him in there with Kershaw and another solid pitcher. So you're going to need to save yourself a little bit of money somewhere. So looking down a little bit cheaper, assuming he's in the lineup, Wellington Castillo at $3,200 against Kyle Kendrick. Probably the guy I'm going to get in my cash games because, let's face it, Kyle Kendrick may still be the worst pitcher in all of baseball. He's bad against lefties. He's bad against righties. In Chase Field, it's humid. I know the roof's going to probably be closed again, but still, it's such a great spot for these Arizona hitters, and these guys got some pop in his bat for $3,200.
Yeah, and he provides cheap exposure to that big total. And I really think catcher is a punt position tonight. If you're going to pay up, McCann is a one-off in GPPs. He really has power at Yankee Stadium. You can pick on him, pick on Archer with him. You don't usually want to pick on Archer, which is going to lead to low ownership, but McCann has to pop to get into a mistake. Lucroy at Great American Ballpark against Michael Lorenzen. Not a bad matchup, a little bit pricey, considering it is a righty-righty matchup, but I do like Lucroy a little bit, but again, on a Clayton Kershaw slate, you're going to have to save it someplace, and catcher looks like it. So I'm with you on Castillo. I like Young Gomes a little bit, but that's mostly because I'm bullish on the Indians tonight. A lot of left-handed bats against Charlie Morton, so I want to get for these peripheral pieces like Jan Gomes, who should hit in a decent lineup spot and could have some ducks on the pond if these lefties do work against Morton like I expect them to. But other than that, I'm going to be looking at lineup cards, looking for lineup spots. If a guy gets a surprising promotion in the lineup and they're cheap, maybe grab them as a punt.
Yeah, I'm absolutely with you there. And that's about it for catcher. As we move over to first base, of course, Paul Goldschmidt's your top option, but he's $6,000. It's going to be really tough to fit in there. He's going to be your tournament-only option because there's no way you're getting him in there and feeling comfortable about your lineup with Kershaw and any decent second pitcher. Some other options. You and I both like Joey Votto a lot against Mike Fiers. His hard hit contact rate, his fly ball rate, his home run rate, all the things going against him. And then you throw in the ballpark and the price tag of 4,200. He's a great price there. Cheap guy that I'm going to throw out there that I really like against the lefty, Billy Butler, $3,500. Been hitting the ball really well recently. We know he mashes lefties. Even hit a triple the other day. Spencer and I were joking on the other podcast about we got to see some footage of him running all the way to third base because I bet that's probably up there with Bartolo Colon swinging a bat. But either way, I like him a lot at that cheap price tag.
Rumor has it there was a country breakfast waiting for him on third base, and that spurred the speed burst from
There was
Billy
a Bob
yesterday.
Evans at third base.
Yes, I like the Butler call as a cheap play, and I'm with you. Votto, to me, is the most affordable superstar you can get in the lineup with Kershaw tonight. At $4,200, that's a steal of a price. I'm going to go ahead and lock them into my lineups with Jesse Chavez, get that trio, and still have money to spend elsewhere. The guy that I'm going to caution is Mitch Moreland. I know people like the recent home run binge, but Garrett Richards has been really rounding into form lately. Strikeouts are starting to catch up to that big swinging strike rate, and it's just not a favorable matchup. His teammate Prince Fielder, though, who is a superior hitter to Moreland, I like Fielder at 4,400. I don't think he's going to be high owned because the matchup isn't ideal, but Rangers Ballpark there in Arlington is a nice venue for hitting, and I like Fielder against Richards a little bit. More of a GPP play because you can spend just $4,200 on Votto as a cash games play, and I think that's the way to lock in. Speaking of other GPP plays, I'm looking at $4,600 Adam Lind, also at Great American Ballpark. Mike Lorenzen's been terrible against left-handed batters. Great ballpark factor for Homer. Lind just hammers right-handed pitching, so really like Lind a lot at 4,600 because I think he's going to be low owned. He's with the elite first baseman, which is going to drive his ownership down. But those are really the names that I'm looking at first base. And I guess you can also throw in David Ortiz against Dan Straley. Red Sox have a big team over-under total at Boston against Straley, so Ortiz makes for an interesting piece. I think I'd rather grab some other pieces of the Red Sox lineup. We do have some nice alternatives at first base, but Red Sox definitely a stackable offense, and your best stacks with the Red Sox are going to include Ortiz.
Yeah, absolutely. And as we move over to second base, I know you and I both like Jason Kipnis. It's going to be tough to fit him as well, $4,900 though. Jimmy Paredes against John Danks, you got to like him. But once again, price tag, not one you're a big fan of there at $4,300. Cheaper guys, got to like Ben Zobrist against the lefty, against anyone at $4,100. And then Colton Wong, probably my favorite play, $4,000. Gets Andrew Kashner, who has really, really struggled against left-handed batters this year. 394 WOBA allowed. Should be leading off again. Got some power, got a little bit of speed. I love Colton Wong tonight.
Yeah, Wong is my favorite play a second. I like Zobrist as well. I'll throw Luis Valbuena out there. Masterson lost against left-handed batters, so grabbing Valbuena either at second or third is a reasonable play. Neil Walker's been on a tear. If you're not using Trevor Bauer, Walker usually hits in a good lineup spot. $4,100 for him. Like the switch hitter. Looking cheaper, as you said, there are some cheap options. Aaron Hill, assuming he's in the lineup against Kyle Kendrick, looks pretty good at $35. Devin Travis has hit since he's gotten back off the disabled list, just $3,600. And then looking a little bit cheaper, I like Johnny Giavotella. If he's going to hit leadoff again tonight, $3,000. Big team over-under total of 4.5 runs for the Angels. So a great leadoff hitter for just $3,000. Looks like a nice option at second base to me.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm there. I'm with you there. And then at $2,800, Cesar Hernandez against Julio Teheran, and also especially if AJ Brzezinski's in there, giving up 38 stolen bases and 49 starts this year, and Cesar has been pretty aggressive on the base paths. So third base options, I really like Todd Frazier against Michael Fiers tonight at $4,600. Hard not to like him. Also hard not to like some of these other power bats. He has Manny Tomas still third base eligible on DraftKings. Got to like him against Kyle Kendrick as well. I think he tends to be that guy that kind of flies under the radar in your Arizona stacks, especially on a night like tonight where really every single one of the players is in play.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan of another rookie third baseman at that same price point, Maikel Franco at $4,200. Tehran, big fly ball rate. Franco, big power and good contact rate. So that's the potentially volatile powder keg waiting to go off. And I like Franco's power, and I love that matchup. Donaldson at 45, you usually don't use him against right-handed pitching, but 4,500 is a good price point, and Anibal Sanchez has had huge problems with giving up home runs this year. Donaldson can obviously put a charge into the ball, so I like him. I didn't touch on him at first base because I think he's a better play at third base. Miguel Cabrera, $5,000. If you're going to pony up at third base, he makes for a nice grab because Drew Hutch has really struggled with right-handed batters this year. Cabrera is good against all pitchers, so grabbing him against a below-average starter like Hutchison is a nice play. Pablo Sandoval at $4,000, just grabbing a piece of that high total in Boston again, and he makes for a good play. And then a guy that I know we both love, Matt Carpenter, $3,900 against Andrew Cashner. Not the greatest ballpark factors in St. Louis, but I mean, he's a line drive hitting machine. He's basically ballpark proof because he can gap at any ballpark. I really like him against Cashner. Cashner struggling with left-handed batters a lot this year.
Yeah, I mean, he's an incredible cash game play at that price. I mean, he's a guy who early in the season was right up around $5,000 in matchups like this. So, I mean, he's like you said, hits gappers. He's the guy that puts the ball in play, and you got to love him batting second tonight against Cashner. So, big fan of that as well. As we look over here at shortstop options, it's going to be an interesting night. I think it's one of those ones where you're going to try to save some money. J.J. Hardy and Xander Bogaerts, just a little bit under $4K each. Those are the guys I'm looking at the most, 36 and 3,700. It's going to be tough. You want to find some cheap value here. There really isn't a lot, but you're also not trying to spend a lot at the position. So it's going to be interesting to see where people go, but I think one of those two guys is probably going to be the way I go. Bogart's probably more so because they do have he does get a much better lineup spot, though.
Yep. Another guy that you mentioned at second base, also shortstop eligible, Cesar Hernandez at 28 if you really want to punt the position. I am very bullish on the Indians tonight, so 3,100 for Francisco Lindor looks pretty good as a switch hitter facing Charlie Morton, going to get the bat left-handed against him. I still like Marcus Semien. Even if he hits down order, $3,300, he gets a lefty, struggles with the right-handed batter, so I like Simeon's modest combination of power and speed. If he does happen to hit second, all the better. We've seen him hit up at the top of the times this year. That's a lineup that I'm going to be holding, waiting with bated breath to see tonight. I really hope he hits up in the order, but again, I will reiterate this. If he does hit down order at $3,300, he does still provide nice salary relief and a good matchup. So I like Semien a little bit, but I'm with you. I don't foresee myself paying up for Tulo. Might be a decent way to go in GPPs just because you're getting a piece of that big total and that great ballpark in Chase Field. But I think there's better uses of your resources than paying for Tulo tonight.
Yeah, I completely agree with you there. And then as we move to the outfield, this is going to be an interesting night where you may not necessarily need to pay up in the outfield.
Nope.
David Peralta, $4,200, I really like a lot. His teammate, of course, AJ Pollock at $4,500. Those guys both in play. As far as expensive options, other than those two, I know you like Michael Brantley a lot. Charlie Morton, not so good against lefties, $4,500. I think he's in a great spot as well. And then kind of pricey. I don't really like his DraftKings price very much, but Cole Calhoun at $4,400 against Chichi Gonzalez is probably more of a tournament play due to his price, but definitely a guy that I'm considering as well.
Yeah, I'll throw in another expensive-ish outfielder, Mookie Betts against Dan Straley and the Astros at home. Betts has been on a tear. He's hitting leadoff for a Red Sox team with a big over-under total at 4.5 runs tonight. So I want to get some exposure to that, and Betts makes for some good exposure. Lorenzo Cain at 4,600 against lefty Tommy Malone looks pretty good. And then my favorite play in the outfield, and it's not even close, is Adam Jones at $4,400 against John Danks at the Cell. Danks is awful against right-handed batters, and Jones is excellent against lefties. Great ballpark factor for home runs. Huge upside for Jones tonight. Big over-under total for the Orioles as well, looking at 4.5 runs at last check. So another really nice over-under total to grab a piece of. If you're looking at the Indians, maybe Brandon Moss moves up in the order and has something like 5th tonight. I certainly think he's a better play hitting 5th than he hits down order, but even if he hits down order, he can put a charge into the ball. So any kind of power hitter like that, you could be a little bit more forgiving of a down order spot. They're not necessarily relying on somebody else driving them in, since, well, he can drive himself in, basically. And then Jay Bruce at 4,100 against Mike Fiers. In case you haven't gathered it, we like these power hitters at Great American Ballpark against Fiers and his fly ball rate. So I'm going to grab Jay Bruce, and then One last name I'm going to throw out there, your bargain bin play of the night, Nolan Reimold at $3,000. If you're looking for salary relief with Kershaw, probably going to hit second, typically does against lefties. Danks is so bad against right-handed batters. You got to love Reimold at $3,000, even with the risk of him probably coming out either for a defensive replacement or for a pinch hitter later in the game when eventually the Sox turn to a right-handed reliever.
Yeah, that's a good point there. But like you said, great value play there. Probably the top value play. He's going to be a pretty popular guy tonight. Really nobody below that or even really around that range that I'm a big fan of. So that'll wrap things up for us then. Find us on Twitter at DF Cafe. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Check out our lineup optimizer, Colossus. Help you make some great lineups for tonight. And check out all the other great content we have at dailyfantasycafe.com.